What is up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you guys who are new, I'm TashaAna.Nicole, and today, guys, I'm going to be telling you a story time. And the story that I'm going to be telling you guys today is a time that me and my two cousins almost went to jail when we were just 13. So if you guys want to hear this crazy story, just stay tuned and keep on watching. All right, you guys, so to begin this story, I do just want to clarify really quickly that we were not all 13 at the time. So I was 13, and my cousin, who I'm not going to name their names, but I'm just going to call her S, she was 14. And my other cousin that was in this story, she was 15. And I'm just going to call her M. So we were all spending a night at my cousin S. Yeah, we were spending a night at my cousin S's house, and which is crazy in itself because, to be quite honest with you guys, if you know my mom, you know my mom wasn't with that spending the night at people's house shit. Like, my mom was not with that shit. Like, she was strict as hell. Like, she definitely did not like me going to spend a night at anyone's house, even if it was like my cousins or family members. Like, she'd rather me come home. So we were spending a night at S's house, and I remember it had to been like the summertime because I think I was spending a night at her house for like two nights. And usually, like during the school year, like my mom really isn't letting me spend the night, definitely spend a night at anyone's house during the school year. I can remember. So we were at S's house, and at the time, my cousin M, she had a boyfriend. And I remember she was in one of the bedrooms and she was on the phone with her boyfriend. And me and my other cousin, we were in the other room. And I believe we were just like watching TV and just talking and doing some other things. And my cousin came into the bedroom and she was like, hey, I just want to know, like, will it be okay if my boyfriend comes over? But if he does come over, like, he's also going to bring two other friends. So that way, me and my cousin could also have some other boy, like, to talk to. And at the time, guys, like, we were, like, teenagers. So, like, we kind of, like, had, like, little boy crushes and stuff like that. But me personally, guys, like, I was super, like, nervous about all of that because my mom was super fucking strict. Like, and the thought of them even bringing boys over or us hanging out with boys was like exciting but also scary at the same time for me, because I was like, damn, like my mom already doesn't let me come over to my cousin's house to spend the night anyway. Two, we're at her house, but my uncle was at work. So he used to, like, he worked in construction, so he was always at work sometimes, and like for like a long period of time. And obviously, my mom did not know that my uncle wasn't going to be home because she definitely wouldn't have let me spend the night. But my cousin had I my cousin's S obviously told her that it was okay. And so at that point, I couldn't say anything, and my cousins were obviously older than me, so and they were more mature and they've had like boyfriends before and stuff. At that age, I don't think I even had a boyfriend just yet. And I did have crushes though. I had crushes on boys, but I didn't have no like boyfriend or whatever, anything like that. So when she said that they were going to come over, I don't know whose bright idea it was to go pick up her boyfriend. Like, obviously, her boyfriend did not have any transportation because the plan was that they were going to go. Because, see, what was going to happen was obviously my cousin M was going to go pick up her boyfriend. And so my cousin M was 15. So obviously her boyfriend, I don't know exactly how old he was, but I want to say her boyfriend was either 16 or 17 years old. And I don't know how old the two other boys that were going to be coming over, how old they were. And so I remember my cousin was saying, okay, like what we're going to do is me and S are going to go and pick up my boyfriend and the two guys. And I was going to stay behind, at the house just in case like my uncle called or my mom called or anything like that. And I was perfectly fine with that, guys. Like, because to be totally honest, like I said, in the back of my mind, I was kind of still like scared and nervous of the thought of like them coming over. And and for my mom to be like, oh, you left this house, like, or anything like that, like, I was like, not with it. So I agreed. Like, I agreed with the plan. I was like, okay, y'all two are going to go pick them up. And, I'm going to stay behind just in case, my uncle calls or my mom calls or whatever. What I did not know at the time, well, I did know right when they were about to leave, but I don't know whose bright idea it was. I thought at the time that my cousin had a way to go pick them up, like she found a ride. But no, the plan was, guys, hold on, like my mouth's a little dry. Okay, sorry. But anyway, the plan was that my cousin S and my cousin M were going to go and get in a cab and go pick them up and then come back home. And when they told me this, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so one, I didn't know how far they were going at the time. When we were at where we were on Buford Highway. So back in the day, my cousin lived on Buford Highway. Well, we all did, if I'm not mistaken. Damn near all of my family at the time used to all live scattered on Buford Highway. So I knew we were on Beaver Highway. I did not know how far they were gonna go, like where these boys lived at or anything. So when she said that they were gonna get in a cab, I was like, okay. So I asked, like, I'm like, so how are y'all gonna pay for the cab? Like, what are y'all gonna do? So this is when my cousin M informed me on the whole plan. Like, she just went down in detail, said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go outside, get on, like, and try to catch one of these cabs or one of these taxis that are outside. And on our way back, she's like, when we come back, we're gonna try and run. Like, they were gonna try to outrun the taxi cab and like jump out like at a red light or tell them to drop them off somewhere else that's not our apartment. And they were just gonna get out the car and run. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, what the hell? Like, that sounds super fucking stupid. Like, and I was like, are you sure? And I even asked my cousin, like, are you sure? She's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I've done this before. Like, and she like looks at my cousin and she's like, you just have to be like on your feet. Like, as soon as I tell you to run and give you the signal you need to run, and I'm gonna tell them too, like, get out and run or whatever. So that was the plan. I knew all of that. I knew all of that was about to go down. And like I said, even more, guys, I was super even happy that I wasn't going even more, because I'm like, hell no, I did not want to like try to run off on the taxi. Like, because I'm like, it would be my damn luck that I fall, that I trip, or that I get cold feet. So I was just happy that I was staying my ass at home. So they ended up leaving, and I want to say like they were gone maybe for like an hour. An hour goes by, like literally an hour goes by. And like I said, I think my cousin M, she had a cell phone. So every periodically, like, she was like calling me. And so within that hour, she called me and she was all like, hey, my Theo called, or has your mom called? And I was like, no, no one has called. But at this point, I'm like kind of still getting nervous, because I'm like, it's been an hour now. Like, where are y'all? I'm like, so what's up? Like, where are y'all? She's like, oh, I don't know. She's like, I kind of got lost. Like, he told me the wrong address. So now we're turning back around. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, what the hell? Like, and so I tell her, I'm like, well, why don't you just come back? Like, just forget it. Like, just come back and let's just like not even like let them come over. And my cousin M was like, no, Tasha, just be quiet. Like, you just stick to the plan. Do what we tell you. Like, if my Theo calls or your mom calls or anything like that, just call us. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, but y'all need to hurry up. Like, this is like taking too long. So we hang up the phone or whatever, and maybe another 10, 15 minutes goes by, and her mother calls. And her mom calls, and I'm like on the phone, and I'm like, hello. And she's like, oh, so she starts asking me, like, what are we doing and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, nothing. Like, I'm like, we're just, we're outside playing. I'm like, we're at the park playing. And at the time, they had in the apartments, they had this playground in the front of like the complex. So I was like, oh, nothing, Thea. Like, we're just outside playing, like, nothing major. Like, and so she's like, okay. She's like, well, let me talk to, my daughter real quick. So she wanted me to put my cousin M on the phone. And she's all like, well, put her on the phone real quick and let me talk to her. And I was like, oh, I'm like, well, she's still outside. I said, she's not inside. Like, I just came inside to get something to drink. I said, but I'll tell her to call you. And I guess my aunt had been trying to call her on her cell phone, but she wasn't picking up. So I, at that point, guys, like I was saying, I was nervous as hell to be on the phone with my aunt. And I was like, okay, Thea, like, I'll tell my cousin to call you. And, once I tell, like, I'll tell her to call you, whatever. So she's like, okay. And we hang up the phone. So I immediately, like, start calling my cousin. And I'm like, calling her and calling her. And at first she didn't pick up. And then I called her for the second time. And the second time she picked up. And I was like, yo, like, your mom just called me. Like, she said she's been trying to call you. Like, why aren't you picking up your phone? Like, at least pick up your phone. And she's like, no, no, no. Like, if I pick up the phone, like, she's going to ask me all these questions. Like, or she might say that she's coming or whatever. Like, she's like, she's like, we're on our way back. We're on our way back. Like, we already picked them up. And so I was like, okay. I was like, well, hurry up. Like, your mom is like, calling. Like, like, hurry up. And so we hang up. Maybe another 15 minutes goes by and her mom calls again. And at the time, guys, we did not have caller ID. Like, my uncle did not have caller ID in his house. So every time the phone ring, I had no option but to pick up because it could have been my uncle or it could have been my mom. And definitely if it was my mom, like, I needed to, like, to talk to her because she wouldn't really care. Like, she would probably believe anything that I told her about my cousins because she never really called the house if I was spending the night over there to talk to them. She always wanted to talk to me. So my tia calls again and she's all like, hey, why haven't you told M to call me? And I'm like, I did tell her to call you. I said she told me that she was gonna call you. I'm like, but we were like playing outside, like, and I was telling her like we were playing hide and go seek, and I told her to call you though, and she said she did. And she's like, well, put her on the phone right now. And the only thing that I could think of at that time, I was like, oh, well, she's in the shower right now, Thea. Like, I was like, I'll tell her real quick, like, to call you. And, once she gets out, and she's all like, no, Tacha, like, this is too much. Like, you need to put her on the phone right now, right now. And I'm like, Thea, I promise. Like, she's in the shower. Like, we were outside playing. And I was like, I think I made up a line. I said we were outside playing hide and go seek. And she fell and she got dirty and fell in the mud. So she's in the shower right now. And she's like, okay, I'm going to call her. I'm going to call her again. Like, I'm going to call her again. I was like, okay. So we hang up the phone. Literally, guys, maybe 3 minutes goes by and the phone rings again. And I pick up the phone, and this time it's my uncle. And my uncle's like, Tacha, what are you guys doing? Like, your tia just called me and she's super upset. She says she's been trying to call him all day and you haven't put the phone or you haven't told her to call her. And I was like, no, Theo, like, that's not what's going on. I'm like, she's in the shower right now. I'm like, we were just outside playing. I said, I told her to call her mom, but she didn't. I said, but as soon as, she gets out the shower, I'll tell her. So my uncle was like, okay, okay, like, I'm at work, like, but I'll be home soon. I'll be home soon. So I was like, okay. So we hang up the phone. And when we hang up the phone, guys, literally I call my cousins and them again. And I'm like calling them, and no one's picking up the phone. And I'm calling her again, and no one's picking up the phone. So I'm freaking the fuck out at this point. And I go to call her for the third freaking time. And when I literally, as soon as I'm picking up the phone to call her, my uncle walks in the door. Like, he walks into the house and he's like, Dacha. And I'm like shocked. Like, I literally dropped the phone and I was like, oh my God. And like, I was like super scared. Like, at first I thought it was like, my cousins, but then I turn around and it's my uncle. And he's like, where's your cousin S and where's your cousin M? Like, where are they right now? Like, and I was like, okay. I was like, okay, Theo, like, they're outside still. They're at our friend's house. And at the time we had other friends that lived in the complex. So he's like, oh, whose house are they at? Whose house are they at? And I was like, oh, they're at I'm like, they're at P's house. And yes, I'm like, I don't want to tell you guys her name, but we're gonna call her P. So I was like, oh, they're at P's house. I was all like, but they're gonna come right back. And so he's like, well, come on, let's go. Like, let's go get them right now. Like, y'all know y'all should not be outside when I'm at work. Like I said, for a little while, but y'all shouldn't be out this long. So he makes me get up and like come with him to P's house. And at the time, guys, I did not know her phone number, so I could not call her to tell her like, hey, my uncle's about to come over. He's gonna look for my cousins, what, blah blah blah. So we go to her house and she's at home, unfortunately. And as soon as like she answers the door, I'm standing behind my uncle, and he's like, oh, excuse me. And he's all like, hey, where's S and where's M? Like, tell them they need to come on and come home. And she's like, I'm standing behind my uncle and I'm trying to give her this look like, say anything but they didn't come over or they haven't been here. And she's like honestly looking at me. So she can kind of see like me like in the background, kind of like, making faces or whatever. And she's like, oh no, like, sorry, but they just left. Like they left maybe like 10 minutes ago. Um, so I don't know where they went. I thought they were going home, is what she told my uncle. And so he's all like, so where are they, Tacha? Like, and I was all like, I don't know, Theo. I said they told me they were coming here and they just left. So maybe they're still outside somewhere playing. So he's like, come on, let's go then. Like, so we go back, we walk back to the house and we get in the car because he's like, we're about to drive around the neighborhood to go find them. And I kid you not, guys, like we get in the car and we're heading towards the back of the complex. And towards the back of the complex, they had like this fence where it divided another, like it was like behind those apartments, there was like a recreation center. And that divided that line was a fence, but that fence had like a hole in it, so sometimes people will cross through that fence and like to go to the other side or whatever. So we went driving back that way because my Theo was like, oh, maybe they went to the park or something somewhere. So we go over there, guys, to the park. And when we're going over there to the park, like literally as we're driving up, all we see is my cousin S like run right past like my uncle. And he sees her and he immediately starts blowing the horn like super hard. And she turns around and is like in like deer, like with a deer in headlights, guys. And she's like, oh shit, like, and he's like, come here, S, come here. Like he starts yelling at her and like yelling her name. He goes, come here right now. Like we've been looking for y'all. Like where are y'all? Like y'all know y'all not supposed to be over there at that park. Like y'all supposed to only stay in the apartments if y'all do go outside. And she starts telling her dad, oh no, it's just that we were playing, me and Em were playing and we were running around and outside. And so he starts to ask her, where is Em at? Where is Em? And so like she like looks at me and she kind of starts panicking. And out of no, like we're standing out there outside because at this point I get out the car, my uncle gets out the car, and he's all like, "Where's Em at? Like where is she?" And she's like, "I don't know. I think she ran. Like she ran back home. Like I was just coming back behind her, but she ran super fast, so I was running behind her." And when she said that, like all of a sudden we see like this taxi cab like pulling up like towards us. And I'm sitting there like looking like, oh shit, like there's a, like, is that the cab that they just ran off of? And kid you not, guys, yes it was. Like this guy literally pulled up and it was a like and guys, for those of you who know Beaver Highway, it was an Amigo taxi cab. And he pulls up like behind like my cousin, and he's all like, no no no, you need to come here, you need to come here, little girl. And like in Spanish though, he's saying this to like my cousin, and he's like, you need to come here. And so her dad is kind of looking confused now at this point, and he's like, who are you? Like why are you talking to my daughter? And he's all like, oh, like I just came and dropped her and her friend off, and they just try to run off on me, and with the cab, like run off on me, and they owe me money and this and that. And it was all of them, and like I'm sitting there looking like, oh shoot, like what does he mean by all of them? Like I wasn't even there. Like, and I guess when he meant by all of them, like he was also trying to say like the other boys too. He never mentioned like the boys. He just kept saying it was all of them. They all ran off on me. They all ran off on me. And so like he's like, no, like well, I already called the police. The guy was saying he already called the police. Like he's like, they try to have me drop them off over here behind this recreation center, but I saw them. Like what happened was is like when they were coming back, they told the cab driver that they were going to get dropped off at that recreation center. But when they got dropped off, they ran through that hole in the apartments. And the guy saw them running through the hole. So he obviously like drove around and went back to those apartments. And unfortunately, he found my cousin S. And he's like, I don't care. Like, he's like, I already called the police. Like, they owe me so much money. From, if I'm not mistaken, guys, they ran up that bill to like $100 and something that they were running off. It wasn't just like, oh, $20, $10, $30. It was like $100 and something. And so my uncle was all like, what do you mean? Where did you take them? This, and that. Like, he's like, I don't know. I took them to go pick up some friends and this and that. And then my uncle's all like, well, what do you mean you took them to go pick up some friends? Like, these are kids. Like, why would you even let kids get in your car like that? And the cops ended up pulling up. The guy is telling the cops his side of the story. And I guess apparently, like, at this point, I'm freaking out. My cousin M, she finally comes up, like, because obviously when she went running all the way back home. But since she saw that S wasn't there, obviously she saw that I wasn't there, so I guess she came walking back. And we see her coming up the steps, walking back towards us. And the Hispanic guy is like, yep, that was her. It was all of them. It was all, they ran out on me. They tried to tell me to drop them off over here, blah, blah, blah. So the cop is like talking to like the taxi driver, and then he pulls my uncle to the side, and my cousin M is like talking back like the Hispanic, like, to the cab driver. She's like talking back to him like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, she's giving him attitude, like all this stuff. And the cop is like looking at her like, yo, like, you girls were at wrong. Like, y'all were at wrong. Like, y'all need to be, like, need to be quiet right now before, like, I put handcuffs on y'all. And we're looking, me and my cousin S are like looking at my cousin. We're like, please, like, just be quiet. Like, you're making it worse. Like, we both start crying. Like, and I don't know what she said. Like, she said something that kind of like made the cab driver like, okay, that's it. Like, I'm taking you to jail. And my cousin M was just like, oh, I like still like running her mouth like, oh, I don't care. Like, you can put the handcuffs on me. Like, so they put the handcuffs on her and put her in the car. And me and my cousin S are like crying, and we're like, no, please don't take her to jail. Like, don't do this. Like, and the guy was like, well, because you girls were all in on this and y'all all ran off on the cab driver, like, all of you guys are going to jail today. Like, all of you guys. So they ended up putting handcuffs on my cousin S, and then they put the handcuffs on me, and I'm sitting there like freaking out, bawling my eyes out, crying. I'm like, I didn't even go. Like, I stayed back home. Like, I didn't even get in the cab. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, he's like, no, like, you knew the whole, like, you knew the plan from the beginning. You knew about all this. Y'all planned this. Like, so me and my cousin S got put in one car, and my other cousin was at the other car. And we were in the back of the car, and I'm sitting there crying. I'm like, my mom is gonna like be super mad. Like, she's gonna be so mad. Like, she's never gonna let me come over to your house again. Like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna be in so much trouble. And like, maybe they left us in the car for like 5 minutes, and I was freaking out, bawling my eyes out, crying. My cousin started crying too at one point. My other cousin, I don't know if my cousin M, no, my cousin M was never crying. Like, she never started crying. And the cop eventually lets me and my cousin out of the car, and he takes the handcuffs off of us. And he's all like, yeah, girl, we just wanted to show you girls a lesson. Like, y'all can't be doing this. Like, your uncle's going to go ahead on and handle the bill. My uncle ended up paying the cab driver, but he was super pissed at us. Like, he was super pissed, but he was super pissed at my cousin, especially. And I don't think my uncle to this day ever found out that literally they went to go, like, the whole plan was to go pick up some boys. Because after they let us out the car, they started to let my cousin M out the car, and she still had, like, she wasn't saying anything anymore, but she still had like this attitude like about her, like, and her whole demeanor was just like, I'm pissed and I'm that bitch and I don't care. Like, so they took the cuffs off of her, and me and my cousin S ran to her and started crying and like hugged her, and she hugged us, and like, she's like, I'm sorry guys, like, and she's like, next time I'll just be quiet. Like, So my uncle, like I said, I don't think he ever found out, because right after that, like, he took us back home. He didn't yell at us. Like, I don't know if he ever told my cousin S anything, but he didn't yell at us. And he never told my mom what happened. Like, well, obviously now my mom is going to know what happened now, but he never told my mom what happened, because my mom would have yelled at me, definitely would have yelled at me, definitely would have said, why didn't you call me and tell me, like, they left and they were going to bring boys over, like. So it was just this big ordeal, guys. Like, but that was like one of the craziest like experiences. Like, that was the first and only time I think I've ever had gotten like put in handcuffs and put behind a police car. Like, and I was only like 13, guys. Like, I was 13, my cousin was 14, and my other cousin was 15. Like, and I was just like, I never wanted to experience anything like that again. Like, I was just super thankful that we did not get in any deeper trouble than we were already. And I think luckily, because my uncle was able to pay the guy, like, luckily he had that money on hand, that the guy just let it go. But you live and you learn, and when you're young, you do, like, you do young things, you do dumb things when you're kids, and you learn from your mistakes. Like, I never, well, I'm not gonna say I never did, we never attempted to like bring boys over again, because that's clearly a lie. But that was the last time we ever did try to like outrun, well, not me, because I wasn't even in the car, but that was the last time that I heard that my cousins ever got into a cab and tried to outrun the cab. But yeah, that was just crazy though, guys. Just a crazy experience. Like I said, when you're kids, you have the balls to do dumb things, and no one can get you in trouble, no one can get, we could have gotten in trouble, we could have gotten hurt. Like, you just never know. Like, so yeah, but that was just so crazy. I'm just super thankful that, my mom never found out about it, because I know if my mom found out about it, that would have been a wrap. Like, I think my mom would have really let me have it. Like, she probably would have like not even like yelled at me. I think that probably would have been an ass whooping right there. Like, my mom probably would have whooped my ass that time. But I knew not to ever do that again. So, but all right, you guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And since you're already here, go ahead and hit that post notification bell down below, so you guys can get notified anytime I drop a new video. Till next time, my loves. Peace.